Hello and welcome to Kale Course with Aaron Blue.
Dear Aaron Blue, what do you know about Korean imperialism? From Kelsey from Illinois.
Well, Kelsey, Korea is a country located in Eastern Asia on a peninsula. It is divided into two halves, North and South. But we'll get into that later. Traditionally, Korea borrowed much of its high culture from China, including the use of Chinese characters in the written language and the adoption of Neo-Confucianism as the philosophy of the ruling elite. But while symbolically dependent on China for military protection and political legitimization, in practice Korea was quite independent in its internal behavior. Although they did have similarities, Korea prided themselves on their unique beliefs. The Korean language fluctuates throughout Korea, but can still be understood by everyone while it is much different than Chinese.
In the past, the religion that they had in Korea was called Chondogyo, also known as Tonggak. This religion was a combination of many other religions and philosophies mashed together. They believed in the idea of God, just like the Christian faith, and that God and man were one and the same. Church days are on Sundays, just like in the Western culture, and they also go to a shrine to meditate. This religion is still practiced today in certain parts of Korea, but is less popular. Confucian culture largely influenced Korean ethics, social life, and work due to its emphasis on respect for ancestors, seniority, and one's age. People celebrated important passages in life, including one's first 100 days, marriage, and 61st birthday. The people believed that the spirits of those who passed did not leave the earth for several generations. Therefore, are still considered family and should have rituals and rites performed. Food was an important part of Korean culture identity. Diets commonly consisted of items that emphasized grains and fresh vegetables.
The original borders of Korea were set up by the Goryeo dynasty, who ruled from 918 to 1392. Prior to imperialism, however, Korean government was ruled by the Choson dynasty. They were 26 monarchs, and they ruled from 1392 until the Japanese imposed annexation in 1910. It consisted of a Confucian ethic system, as the Buddhism system was corrupt. Choson society was headed by a hereditary aristocratic class called the Yangban, which controlled most of the land and essentially the whole country. In the early 17th century, Japan became an isolated country, or shut itself from the rest of the world by disallowing foreign trade or contact from other countries. Though with the small amount of trade they allowed to China, Indonesia, and surrounding countries, the need for trade grew not only in Japan but for other countries. Western countries slowly convinced Japan to open its ports to global trade, as the Japanese saw their advanced weaponry. As Japan raced to modernize, their need for power also grew. With a strong military, economy, and political system, Japan turned to imperialism to eliminate the extraterritorial rights of foreigners and to fuel national pride.
Mr. Blue! Why did Japan even want to colonize Korea?
Good question, Steve. The Japanese wanted Korea primarily because of trade. They opened up Japanese trading ports all throughout the Korea to trade European products. Korea also provided many raw materials and farming land that the Japanese wanted. The Japanese were set in an environment of everyone else is doing it, so I should too, or else I'm not going to survive, kind of thing. All of the big European nations were taking over and imperializing smaller countries, so Japan thought, why not? And went for Korea.
After Japan made Korea a protectorate in 1905, they slowly began to obtain more and more power from their government until they could eventually overpower it, even more so after the Korean king gave up control in 1907 when failing to rally international support. Japan officially imposed annexation in Korea in 1910 in response to the break of the Treaty of Ganghwa by a staged Japanese attack, giving Japan the leverage to control Korea. From then on, the Japanese served as harsh rulers for the Korean people. Schools and newspapers were shut down. Education was being replaced with that of Japan. Land was being taken and given to the Japanese settlers. Encouraged business in the country was only for the Japanese to profit for themselves. Left and right, the Japanese were shooting down the Koreans in the blink of an eye. Korea's growing resentment and negative nationalistic feelings as a whole continued to grow.
Earlier, during the rule, the Japanese strived to completely eliminate Korea's government and rid of any opposition to their change in power. A military was created to maintain power in daily life and ensure that any people who opposed or protested were rid from society. Japan also shaped and formed their society to bring Korea more in line with the cultural aspects of their own country. The industrialization of the Korean Peninsula continues to be a large subject of controversy for both Korea and Japan. Other large subjects of controversy during Japan's imperialistic reign over Korea includes economical advancement with motives to benefit the Japanese, the exploitment of Korean people in their own country, and the long-term repercussions between North and South Korea. The Provisional Government, a government in exile organized in April of 1919 in Shanghai, China, by Korean patriots, was also put in place to help gain independence in response to the Japanese suppression of the March 1st movement. A struggle for Korean independence from Japanese rule was started with a proclamation of independence from 33 prominent Koreans on March 1st, 1919.
On this day, their Declaration of Independence was read to the public park in Seoul. Over the course of 2 months, thousands of Koreans marched down the streets protesting the Japanese rule. The Japanese government was caught completely by surprise and reacted very harshly to the very peaceful movement. They blocked off traffic, searched homes, and ended up killing and injuring many Koreans in the process. During this, the Koreans created their own nationalist organization called the Korean Provisional Government. This movement didn't gain Korea's independence from Japan, but it alerted the world of what was going on in Korea. Many foreigners witnessed the cruel actions of Japan, causing them to create an outrage on Japan's harmful ways. This eventually led to Japan charging some of its cruel policies.
The phone. The phone is ringing.
Hey Kelsey, did you know that there are still complications between the North and South today? For example, as recently as September 2015, there has been an exchange of artillery fire from both sides. In South Korea, the law mandates that men under 35 must have at least 2 years of military service, as mandated under Chapter 2, Article 39 of the Constitution of the Republic of Korea, to fend off their opposition from the North. Due to their complicated pasts and different views caused by imperialism, North and South Korea are still in contention of each other and regard each as enemies.
At the Cairo Conference on November 22, 1943, Russia, Britain, and the United States agreed that Korea would eventually gain independence, and about a year later at their Yalta meeting in February 1945, the Allies established a four-power trusteeship over Korea. Finally, Japan surrendered to the Allied forces on August 15, 1945. Korea finally achieved independence from Japan, but only to be then occupied by the United States and the Soviet Union. The Soviet armies had been occupying the North since they invaded it on August 9, 1945. Essentially, they half gained their freedom. Korea was released from the cruel control of Japan, but was still technically then under the power of the US and Soviet Union.
Thanks for watching Kale Course, and subscribe!